Hey, welcome into hour number 2 of the Frank Beckmann Show. Great to have you with us in this spot where we always keep you the best informed audience in all of radio. We're going to talk about our borders this hour because it is getting increasing attention in Washington. In case you did not know, the House Committee on Homeland Security has passed this bill that is passed out to the floor, this bill called Secure Our Borders First Act. And it's getting a lot of pushback from both sides of the political aisle, if you will. The unions that represent our border agents are not real happy. The Obama administration is not real happy. So what is it about this bill that has upset so many people from different viewpoints? Let's find out from the Congresswoman from Michigan, Candace Miller, the Vice Chair of the House Homeland Security Committee, on the other end of our line. Good morning to you. How are you?
Hey, good, Frank. Doing really well, thanks.
So what does that tell you when people from across the border are upset at you about this?
Well, in some ways, I think that means we're on the right track here. And I think that this bill is a very prescriptive bill, and it takes discretion, a lot of discretion, away from the Department of Homeland Security to keep telling us, hey, the border's safer than, as the White House says, the border's safer than it has ever been, and these kinds of things. Well, look, the American people know that is not true. We need to step it up, actually, which is exactly what this bill does. And I'm hopeful that the full House, as you mentioned, it's passed the committee. I'm hopeful that the full House will take it up in February. It is very. Let me just go through a couple of things that it does. For instance, it does it analyzes the threat sector by sector, and I say that, Frank, because all the different sectors are different, and the kinds of layered approach, a multi-tiered layered approach that is necessary in each one of the various sectors is different depending on the terrain, depending on the population, all this kind of thing. And I say that we just got back. We had I think there were 22 members of Congress who went down this last weekend to the southern border and looked at the three principal sectors with the highest levels of activity, illicit activity. We went into the San Diego sector, for instance, walking along what they call the Tijuana corridor there, which used to be a no man's land during the 90s, and really now is under operational control, which is a good thing. But then, of course, it's pushed it down to Tucson and into the Rio Grande sectors. And we looked at technology that they used, these robots that they use, the tunnel task force for monitoring underground tunnels that come from Mexico to the U.S. We talked to the ranchers in Tucson who literally go everywhere armed, Frank. I wish you could meet some of these folks. They are unbelievable patriots, ranchers, I'm telling you. And then we went along the Rio Grande with some of the different patrol boats that are being utilized by the Border Patrol and also the Texas Guard. And, the Rio Grande is not a very wide river. It's only about as wide as the Clinton River. Mm-hmm. So we really saw firsthand all the challenges that our agents are facing, and we need to do better.
So what did you come up with in this bill? What does the Secure Our Borders First Act actually do?
For instance, there's a lot of fencing that is already in place, but some of it is very old style. It's been cut through, etc. So it replaces the old style fencing with what they call the bollard style, which is essentially impervious fencing. It adds some new fencing so that we complete the 700 miles fence that was required, several years ago. It requires. It adds a lot of new aerial surveillance systems and tools like advanced sensors. We actually saw some of the different aerostats that they're currently utilizing down in the Texas area. This is Department of Defense equipment that the taxpayers have already paid for that we would like to deploy more of along the border, utilizing these unmanned aerial vehicles also.
Are those not being used right now?
Yes, they are, but we need more of them. We have a couple. We need some more of them. They're what they call the VADAR. They have just fantastic capability, Frank, to monitor, to detect, and they can report on. They have a very large, what they call a situational awareness domain. So it's really hundreds of miles. And the cost of some of these, this VADAR, which is really fantastic technology, for the cost of buying one of those is the same as building 2 miles of a fence. So it really is very cost effective, and it works. The thing about the fence, I'm all about the fence, but you know, as they say, you build a 30-foot fence, they got a 35-foot ladder.
Yeah.
So they go over them and under them, and that is always going to happen. And so you need to have more surveillance, boots on the ground, all of those kinds of things.
I've also read a complaint though that we're only adding 48 miles of fence, and if that's true for a 2,000-mile border, that doesn't do a whole lot, does it?
It will complete 700 miles of the fence. Now, we have miles and miles and miles of this fence that we saw that has already been built. And what it is very old. It's actually old runway material from Vietnam is what they used. That's all they had. And that's what when they were putting this fence up very quickly. And, I mean, it's all cut through. It's really a mess. So we're tearing that down. Some people have said, they're tearing all that down. They're going to leave it open. No, we're tearing it down to replace it with new fencing, this bollard-style impervious fencing, and then we're adding new fencing. You would complete 700 miles. Now, before this bill is passed, there may be some amendments to put more fencing up there. And, I'm happy to entertain all of that. I'm all about the fencing, but there are some areas where fencing really, the Border Patrol agents, even the ranchers, et cetera, they're all going, why are you guys building this fence over here? You need to have the aerial surveillance. The fencing is, in their words, not mine, in their words, they say this is a waste of money in some of this terrain. So you need a multi-layered approach. But at any rate, if we have more fencing, that's fine. By the time it gets through the House and the Senate, which has to act. And really, I think what's happening here is a lot of people are saying, well, now you need to take care of, the catch and release program, and you need to do all these things. Yes, we do, but that is not what this particular bill is, Frank. This is a border security bill. And one of the things that I keep reminding everybody, we didn't want to do the Senate bill from last year because it was comprehensive immigration reform, and I'm not interested in that. I don't think the federal government does comprehensive very well at all. Just look at Obamacare. We need to secure our borders. We need to focus on getting secure borders. Then if you want to have a conversation about other parts of whatever, perhaps. We have got to secure our borders. That is a remunerated responsibility in our Constitution. You can't, our borders, right now, last year the Border Patrol apprehended, I think, about 500,000 individuals who crossed over into the United States, and that's just what they stopped. So how many came that they did not stop?
More with Congresswoman Candace Miller coming up right now. Let's check traffic. Here's Mark Mitchell. Congresswoman Candace Miller is with us. She is the vice chair of the House Homeland Security Committee. We've been talking about this new act that the committee has just reported out, the Secure Our Borders First Act. And you mentioned a moment ago that this is a border security bill. It's not comprehensive immigration reform. And my question is, does this do anything to overturn the Obama administration policy of allowing this great influx of illegals and basically allowing illegals to stay in the country?
No, it does not. This bill is a border security bill. It is not in these other issues at all. It's not about immigration. It is totally a bill focused on securing our borders, Frank. That issue is another issue. And it is one that the House has already addressed, actually, by passing the Department of Homeland Security Appropriation Bill, which funds the Department of Homeland Security, but it defunds what the President has done, in which I've been on your show saying I totally believe it is a congressional or a constitutional overreach. So I know everybody says, well, you got to do all of these things. It's true, but that's not what this bill does.
I think it speaks to the election last year. I don't know if you agree, but I think one of the reasons that Republicans won the overwhelming majority in the House again and the majority in the Senate is that American voters didn't like the way our immigration policy was headed, and those fears were realized shortly after the election when the president took the actions he did, and that was part of the reason that Republicans won the election, is that people wanted them to secure the borders, people wanted them to stop stop this influx of illegals.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that is exactly what we are trying to do here. As I say, we already passed a bill to defund what the president has done. Now, we're waiting for action from the Senate. We'll see what they, of course, the thing over there is the hunt's on for 6 Democrat votes to help them get to 60. So I don't know how they will do, but we in the House, and I can only speak to what we're doing in the House here, we've passed our bill 2 weeks ago to defund what the president did in regards to a constitutional overreach. Now, this bill, though, is to do border security. Now, Frank, the truth is we need additional legislation. We need to be looking at how we stop this catch and release program, how we do interior enforcement, other kinds of things. That is, not to get into the weeds here, but those are things that are not in the jurisdiction of the Committee on Homeland Security. Mm-hmm. Those are bills that will come out of our Judiciary Committee because you're dealing with changing laws, statutes, etc., in regards to the whole immigration thing, and that is coming also soon. So we're moving here. We're moving ahead, but and I understand it's a complicated issue. But people are saying, well, if you don't do, I've heard people say, if you don't do all of this stuff, you shouldn't be doing any of it. I do not agree with that at all. We have got to secure our borders. If you secure our borders, the American people will begin to have a little bit more confidence that the federal government is really serious about doing what we should be doing under the Constitution, which, as I say, is securing our border. I'll tell you one thing, Frank, if we don't get this thing done, one of the things, we were down there at a detention center where you've got the kids, right, that we don't hear too much about that anymore, but it's still happening with these unaccompanied children, and you're looking at these.
You bet.
There they are.
Almost at the same numbers as last year. It's down only 12% from what the numbers were last year.
Yes, they're still coming, but the reason it's down, there's a number of reasons that it's down, but I'll tell you, with this last action of the President Obama, I think you're going to be getting, because of it goes in sort of waves, and I think you're going to see a big uptick of this again. And by May, who knows, we could have more than we had last year, because they're down in the centrals thinking, well, now he's saying he's going to just sort of let everybody, he's making it easier to stay. And if that's what they hear from the drug cartels, who they're paying to help them get across the border. And so we have got to secure our border. Frank, the thing is, I'll tell you, it was very interesting to me when we were on the Rio Grande, which I say is not much wider than the Clinton River. I was surprised, but it's a very long river. The section that we were in, there's a park right across from where we were getting onto the boat. And I said, oh, look, this is a nice park over, and it's Mexico, of course. Hey, well, this is a nice park. There's a woman with her children over there. They're having a nice day at the park. Mm-hmm. She's videotaping. I thought maybe she's videotaping her kids. They said, oh, no, she's videotaping us. The cartels have someone videotaping us brazenly, openly, all the time of all our activity. It is really and it's a way of life that is happening there. So we have got to secure these borders. We don't want illegals coming in, the amount of drugs that are coming into it. And guess what? They don't just come in and then they stay in McAllen, Texas. They're making their way up to the city of Detroit, right?
Oh, you bet. They're going all over the country. Hey, final question, I got to let you go, is simply the president's threat to veto any effort to do this kind of thing, to make it tougher for illegals to get into our country. He did that in the State of the Union message. How seriously do you take that threat, and what does it mean to Republicans?
I take it very seriously. You can just tell that he is going to be vetoing pretty much everything that we send to his desk, apparently. And regardless of that, as you said, elections have consequences, Frank. That is the great thing about democracy. And the American people spoke very clearly, I thought, in November. And we're taking it to heart. And we're going to do what we think the American people want us to do. This is not a partisan agenda. This is an American agenda. And, if he vetoes it, hey, whatever. There's another election coming. But we have got to do the right thing. We cannot be cowed by his threats of vetoing an American agenda. And we're going to keep pushing this stuff because we need to do it. It's our constitutional responsibility. And we're going to protect the homeland.